Fox News Alert Washington lost one of their fiercest voices. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham passed away at 71. He died suddenly in his home Saturday night. He was reportedly alone. Called his scheduler, complained of chest pains. She placed the call to 911. When police arrived, the door was locked and they had to force entry. The medical examiner's preliminary investigation determined that his main artery gave out. He'd just come back from Ukraine that same day. It was his 10th trip there. He'd met with Zelensky. Arming Ukraine to the teeth and sanctioning Russia, top of the agenda.
I've never been more optimistic than I am today that we have the formula to end this war. Help Ukraine be more lethal.
So far, no signs of foul play. His father died of a heart attack at 69. Still, even the Wall Street Journal's editorial page says, given every threat this man took over the years, we're owed a full autopsy and toxicology report. Senator Cornyn agrees.
Given where he was and the sorts of things he was advocating for, I think we just ought to resolve all those questions by seeing what the toxicology reports show.
You're concerned he was poisoned, Lindsey Graham, or as a precaution?
I'm just saying they need a toxicology test to rule out any foul play.
We'll know more in the coming weeks. But one thing's not in question. Lindsey Graham was a force to be reckoned with. He was a skilled politician, a Washington creature, a smooth operator, and a ferocious defense hawk. He was also President Trump's closest ally and advisor in the Senate. Lindsey came along the way. He grew up in a one-bedroom apartment behind his family's pool hall.
It could not be more small town and more humble when it comes to how he was brought up.
This room was not your bedroom. It wasn't your brother Lindsey's bedroom. It wasn't your parents' bedroom. It was the room where you lived?
It was the one room where we all slept, we all ate, we watched TV, the sofa, everything was in the one room.
As a kid, he had the run of the place, sneaking beer and cigarettes, going hunting and fishing with the customers. He had a wicked sense of humor. They even gave him a nickname, Stinkball. His parents died when he was in college and he had to take care of his sister. More on that later. She was only 13 at the time and he legally adopted her. He joined the Air Force and raised her alone.
You're very close with your sister Darlene, correct?
Yes, I am. So of all the things that have happened in my life, her turning out so well is the highlight of it.
Graham spent 33 years in the Air Force, retiring as colonel and earning a Bronze Star. Graham was a McCain guy, so when Trump came along, it wasn't pretty. They actually ran for president against each other in 2016.
So Lindsey Graham says to me, please, please, whatever you can do. You know what I'm saying to myself, what's this guy, a beggar? He's like begging me to help him with Fox and Friends. So I say, okay, and I'll mention your name. He said, could you mention my name? I said, yes, I'll mention. And he gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202-228-0292. I don't know. Maybe it's, it's 3-4 years ago, so maybe it's an old number.
Lindsey didn't sulk. He laughed. Yeah, they got off to a little bit of a shaky start, but became partners. Lindsey was the connective tissue between Trump and the Senate, even between Republicans and Democrats. He was on the phone with Trump constantly. They golfed a lot. Lindsey helped bridge factions with the president, between hawks and doves, the establishment and MAGA. Graham actually helped the big, beautiful bill get through the Senate. One of the most memorable moments was Senator Graham standing by Kavanaugh, who'd come under despicable attacks by Judiciary Committee Democrats.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020.
You've said that. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics.
Lindsey was also chair of the Senate Budget Committee and was working on another round of tax cuts when he passed. And he never cashed in, like many others. Graham had one of the lowest net worths in Congress. He was a gunslinger, no doubt about it. The guy wanted our enemies' heads on a platter. He wasn't always right, but you need guys like that in Washington for balance. You need the push and the pull. There are a lot of Americans who want to see the United States flex our muscle, and he represented them. A lot of liberals hated Lindsey Graham, but the ones who worked with him really liked him.
Lindsey Graham was like an unguided missile that, God, you never knew which way he was going to go, whether he would come back and hit you. But when he was aligned, when he would be in the right place at the right time, man, he could get things done that other people couldn't and bring a lot of light and new possibilities to the efforts. I will miss my perhaps most unexpected friend in the Senate.
Not everybody was as classy as Corey. Just like after Charlie got shot, ghouls came out to dance on his grave.
Honestly, I felt like I had buried Lindsey when John McCain died.
Lindsey Graham sold his soul to Donald Trump to get a war with Iran and died knowing how badly Donald Trump had it up. For people looking for some like karmic comfort in this, there you go.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that Senator Lindsey Graham was a great and honorable man just because he's dead, because he wasn't. Lindsey Graham was a miserable, evil warmonger with no principles.
Lindsey's gone. So what does it mean for you? A lot. He was the key player in passing America's budget, Pentagon spending, Ukraine, Iran, China policy, the war against the cartels. And if there's ever a Supreme Court opening soon, you're going to miss Lindsey. Not to mention Mitch McConnell's been out of commish for weeks. He'd fallen, lost consciousness, and caught pneumonia. So Republicans are already down 2 in the Senate, plus a few more if you count lame ducks. Trump wants to put in Jay Clayton as Director of National Intelligence in place of Tulsi, Blanche in at Justice to fill Bondi's shoes, and Graham was up for re-election in November. The president asked the governor of South Carolina to appoint Lindsey's sister, Darlene, to serve out the rest of the term until January.
Lindsey has always been there for me, and now I will be there for him. I know Lindsey thought the world of his staff and colleagues, and with their support, I feel confident. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted, and I plan to honor him in this way. Now, to Lindsey, I miss you more than I can even put into words, but I'm going to do this. I got it.
Turns out he'd already made the case himself.
If she took a role on, she would be a great representative of our country. I can't think of a better person to represent our country in an event than my sister.
The Republicans are going to have to redo their primary in South Carolina and nominate a candidate to run in November. We're hearing names like Nancy Mace, Trey Gowdy, a lot of names in the mix. But Lindsey was working on big things before he died. He'd been quietly brokering an Israeli-Saudi deal till the very end. Literally peace in the Middle East, the ultimate Abraham Accords. He was working the phones up until the last minute, even spoke to the president just hours before he died.
But he sounded great, actually. But he actually said he was tired. But he wanted to pass the Save America Act, and I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey. We're going to get it done. I'll see you like soon. We thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it. And that was, very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly, but I got a message about 1 o'clock in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me.
So Trump lost a friend, an ally, a fighter. The Senate lost a deal maker. And the War Department lost their biggest backer. If you'd ever met Lindsey Graham, it was clear he was having the time of his life, doing what he loved and fighting for what he believed in. Agree with it or not, Lindsey Graham made history, and now he's part of it. And Washington will never be the same. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.